All right, welcome back to the Hicks Hooks channel. Today I'm going to share a little something I just kind of figured out over the break. From fishing over the winter time, it's been kind of cold, and well, not super cold, but just haven't been out fishing. So I was messing around. I found this stuff called hay clay, which is an air dry clay, and kids are using it in schools nowadays to make these models, so they don't need a kiln. So I found this stuff. It's pretty cool. Dries out on its own. And I got to thinking that I've always been looking for the ultimate popper. And poppers are tough to tie. I mean, people try using corks. I've used balsa wood. You know, they use epoxy and all sorts of different ways you can make a popper. And I just figured, why not try this stuff out, see how it holds up. And the reason I'm sharing it with you today is because I'm quite amazed. So what I do is I basically just roll it into a little snake, and I just kind of spin it around, kind of like you do with a dubbing if you're making like a little dry fly. And like I said, I'm just trying this stuff out. This is like the second or third one I tied, but on that on the shank of that hook, I like to put a little crazy glue or Gorilla Glue, whatever you got. I just feel like that kind of holds it in there. And then somehow, I don't know if that glue permeates through there, but it really dries in a nice solid form. So the first thing you're going to do is just kind of wrap it on there, give it some sort of shape. I kind of give it, kind of like a honeycomb shape. I started doing this. This is going to be a frog pattern, but I tied up a couple mulberry patterns too, which I think would be good for carp coming on the summertime. But anyway, so I kind of mold it, and then I get the legs on. And the legs are nice too because you don't have to really cinch them on that hard. I took 3 rubber legs. Start with the back, and I just do an overhand knot. Put the rubber leg under it, take it over top, do one overhand knot, and then as you kind of cinch it down into the clay, you don't squeeze it too hard. Just let it cut in there, let it bite in, and you can shape that clay back over, and it sits and holds. So while the clay is malleable, you have some time to kind of move it around and put the legs at the perfect spot. Start with the back, go with the belly. Like I said, just this little overhand knot. You don't have to do anything more than that, just one time. And these are kind of experimental. The amazing thing is the way this clay kind of dries out and forms and performs, and it's easy to work with. Saves you time on shaping your balsa wood and making sure that glue's on. And sometimes I know people break their stuff, and the popper kit's gonna get expensive, but this hay clay, for the price, you get a lot. Yeah, rubber legs can be fun and finicky sometimes, but you can always take it around. I think I dropped this one off the front here, but just get that loop in there and then put it back over. This stuff is cool because it's very forgiving, and like I said, it's malleable. So I'm struggling to put this last rubber leg on, but for beginners, it's pretty easy stuff. And this is the ultimate art and craft fly right here because you get to play with the clay. Alright, so once you have it on there, I like to tie mine off, and you don't need much of a knot here either because you're going to super glue it and it's going to get into the clay, and that clay just holds everything as well. Alright, and then you got to let it dry. So the longest part of this process is letting it dry. So you want to make all your molds and then let them dry, and I'd say to let them dry for 24 hours. If you're, you can't want to go out and fish with this sucker right away like other flies. You're just going to have to wait a little bit, but once it dries, it's kind of nice. I've found that using a zip tie to kind of nice, it puts a nice little print on the belly, gives it some sort of pattern, and also you can kind of shape it so that you have a nice gap between where the point of your hook is, and that'll give the room for those fish to bite. I found a lot of times with poppers when I'm making them at home, they tend to, the easiest problem to make with a popper is to hang it by the shank and have it touch the hook, and you lose your gap there and you're going to miss a lot of bites. So after you dry for 24 hours, I'm painting this one green. I'm trying to make it look like a frog a little bit. Now this one isn't going to pop. It doesn't have that cone, the lip in front of it. If you want to make yours with a lip, that's fine. I'm just looking for something to throw out for stillwater bass. Just trying to play around right now. So I'll let that dry for another hour. I like to paint my white belly. And then to make it kind of look realistic, you know, this is probably more for the fishermen for the fish, but put a nice little eye on each side and maybe a couple spots, because, you know, frogs have patterns on them. All right, then I let that one dry. And then I'll put my last one. I didn't have black. I had some deep red, and I figured the same thing. You know, give the frog a little color, give it some character. Nice little pattern. And then we're gonna come back to that one in a second. And we're gonna finish it with a clear coat. And my wife wasn't too happy I was using this clear coat, so I found some other stuff, this Gorilla Glue, that worked really nice too. So that's the fly right there. And just to prove that it was going to work, you know, I had to take it out to a pond. So I took this guy out, I let it dry overnight. So basically it took 2 days just for drying, you know, a little bit of time here and there when you're painting them. But if you're doing a whole set, do a dozen at a time, you know, come back to it every other day and you'll have a dozen flies in 2 days. So took it out to the pond. Wasn't really thinking I was going to catch a fish. It's still a cold snap in the middle of the winter. It's starting to warm up more here now, but just to prove that it was going to work and float and hold up, I just wanted to get out there and take a couple casts. So here's a cast or two, just throwing it. You can see it makes a little action on top. Those rubber legs help it out a lot. It's not popping because I didn't put that lip in front, but get a little closer up to see it moving. Yeah, and that right there is the Hicks Hooks Hay Clay Fly. Try it out. If you're interested in throwing some poppers or some sort of floating fly that's bigger, for some bigger fish, or, you know, throwing some mulberries, try it out. I have fun making them. If you like tying flies, just give yourself another project. But, you know, maybe this is the next thing. Maybe not. But I think I'm going to stick to it. And later on this year, I'll post more videos and be catching some fish in the poppers. So thanks again for tuning in. Hopefully you learned something today. I did throw another fly in there just to make sure that it wasn't the fly. I think they were a little deeper. And I eventually found them. So thanks again for tuning in. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe. If you make any flies with this hay clay stuff, or you got another way you make your poppers, feel free to post it on the comments. And stay tuned, because it's heating up outside, and hopefully the fishing will too. Thanks again. Fingers crossed we catch some fish this year. Let's go. Tight lines, boys. See y'all later. And girls.